Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Prim's Playlist Season 2. My name is Prim, and just like last time, I'll be analyzing 5 underrated K-pop tunes and recommending them based on your music taste. There isn't much to announce this episode, so let's cut to the chase. Today's theme is funky. All songs today are funky songs, with influences ranging from R&B to reggae to 80s synth pop. Despite the variety of genres, there are elements shared between each song, such as a slightly swung bouncy rhythm and a frequent use of brass instruments. It's a bit broader than our usual themes, honestly kind of a cop-out, but I think you'll see where I'm coming from once you hear the songs themselves. Let's pull up the playlist. Song number 1 today is Love Me For Me by former Speaker member duet KEEMBO, currently around 3,000 views on Super Soundbugs. KEEMBO's 2020 release Scandalous is actually one of my current favorite songs, so I was really excited to see this song pop up in my subscription feed. Love Me For Me is a slow R&B track with a heavy emphasis on detuned elements, particularly in the wobbly synth used to outline the chord progression. Alongside the synth are a standard K-R&B style drum track, a low plucked bass, and a sampled water drop sound effect used as an alternate form of percussion. What really struck me about this song is how it combines the funky elements as per this episode's theme with more ambient, wet-sounding elements. Alongside the horn stings, guitar solo, and high-tone chimes in the post-chorus lie a wet bass, reverby vocals, and the aforementioned water drop samples. It leads to this song having an atmospheric feel you wouldn't expect from today's playlist. Love Me For Me reminds me a bit of Instant Love by Junho in the way that it combines its funkiness with its wetness, especially in its use of reverb. However, Instant Love definitely takes a lot more inspiration from synth pop than R&B. Honestly, genre-wise, Love Me For Me is a lot more reminiscent of Automatic by Red Velvet. So if you're looking for a more atmospheric take on Automatic a la Instant Love, or like me, you listened to Scandalous last year and wanted to see where KEEMBO was headed, definitely check out Love Me For Me. How about song number 2? Coming in at 1,000 views on Super Soundbugs, this is Swallow Dub version 2, a collaboration between reggae band Soulsauce and Pansori vocalist Kim Yul-hee, mixed by Naoyuki Uchida of the Okidub Ainu band. According to Wikipedia, dub, not to be confused with dubstep, is one of the earliest forms of electronic pop music, originating around the 60s and 70s and growing out of reggae, emphasizing its syncopated rhythms and focusing more on sampling and instrumentation than supporting a vocal track. Such elements can be clearly heard in this song. This song is almost entirely an instrumental track, with Kim Yul-hee's vocals appearing very sporadically and being chopped up enough to essentially be another instrument rather than a traditional vocal track. Speaking of instruments, this song beautifully meshes more concrete instruments such as drums and guitars with spacey synths. And when combined with the detuned nature of the instruments, the chromatic elements in the melody, and the reverb put on the vocals, the entire song gains this unsettling feeling that I really like. It would go well with some cursed images, you know? I have no idea how to describe this, but Swallow Dub reminds me of the soundtrack to the video game Persona. The game is known for having a particularly funky soundtrack with some interesting rhythmic elements, so I guess that could explain it. Also, the way the drums are mixed and the overall threatening feeling in Swallow Dub works with this comparison. So if you're a fan of the Persona series, I'd recommend listening to Swallow Dub. Song 3, please. At 8K views on 1TheK, our third song today is Gullible by an artist named Sogi. We've actually covered Sogi's previous release, Homework, on this podcast before, and yet no new information about Sogi as an artist has surfaced. If you know anything about this artist, please let me know on Instagram at PRIMMS_playlist or on Twitter at playlistprim, P's are capitalized. Enough self-promotion, let's get to the song itself. We start off with some electric piano before cutting straight to noodle bass, guitar stings, snaps, and brushed-sounding percussion. Though this is often a combination of instruments associated with jazz, the fast tempo and playful starts and stops definitely keep this song from feeling too somber. And of course, we can't ignore that guitar solo. To quote YouTube commenter Mellokello, the vibes are immaculate. Gullible has the same vibes as Mamamoo's music during their retro era, such as Dekakomani, Piano Man, and most of all, Mr. Ambiguous. The instrument choice in Gullible is definitely more stripped down than Mamamoo's work, but in my opinion, the vibes are similar enough to warrant a comparison. So if you're a fan of Mamamoo's earlier days, definitely give Gullible a listen. How about song number 4? Fourth on the playlist, coming in at 25k views on 1TheK, it's Let's Just Sing by a singer named Willow. We start off with a cute little, almost a cappella segment before launching into a soothing, musical theater-esque piano instrumental featuring reversed cymbal effects. What makes this song fit today's funky theme, though, is the chorus, combining an almost Rick Astley-style drum pattern and use of filler strings, with short bursts of brass instruments. It's very much a combination of the up-tempo ballad side of funky music with a show-stopping number from some hit musical, united even further by not one, but 2 key changes and some playful stops and starts. All in all, it's an unexpected match made in heaven. I'd highly recommend Let's Just Sing to anyone who's a fan of early G-Friend, particularly songs such as Me Gustas Tu and Rough. It has that similar air of Rick Astley funky up-tempo ballad alongside a dramatic flair. I could really see G-Friend singing this song as a B-side along with Me Gustas Tu, for example. So if you're a fan of G-Friend's schoolgirl era, take a listen to Let's Just Sing. Let's hear song number 5. Our 5th song today is If You by an artist named NILD, featuring an artist named KOKEONSOBER, currently at 3,000 views on Genie Music. I can't actually find much info on either of these artists. In fact, my searches for NILD actually popped up a box on Google saying there weren't, quote-unquote, many great matches for my search. Which is a shame, considering that this is seriously a great song. Blending a steady synth bass with compressed electronic drums and an almost ambient synth pad, this certainly cements itself right into the synth pop niche. I really like how those pads cut out at the start of a chorus and the bass slows to half time. As much as I've seen people rage against the anti-drop trend in K-pop recently, I really think it does work in more synth-pop inspired songs, where you can really lean into an interesting bass line. Plus, with this song specifically, it really keeps the more swirling ambient feeling from the rest of the song from getting old, you know? If You wouldn't be out of place on Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia album with its modern take on 80s synth-pop. If I had to put it in the album myself, I'd probably put it between Hallucinate and Love Again. I'd also recommend If You to fans of other reverb-heavy synth-pop tracks such as La Di Da by Everglow, Just by ID, and Instant Love by Junho, which I actually mentioned earlier this episode. Basically, if you want an echoey 80s throwback, If You is the song for you. Last but not least, let's hear our Sore Thumb song. Our Sore Thumb song today is the official debut single of the all-female K-rock band Rolling Quartz. This is Blaze, currently at 202k views on Rolling Quartz's official YouTube channel. Sure, more views than I usually allow, but I feel a moral obligation to promote this group. If you see me on Twitter, @PlaylistPrim, or saw my super chat message on the Christmas Eve livestream, you know I'm a huge fan of this group. But enough gushing, let's get into the song. We have a traditional grouping of rock instruments with 2 guitars, a bass, drums, and a main vocalist. The song actually starts with a fairly long instrumental introduction at a breakneck tempo, with the guitar melody partially mimicking the melody you're soon to hear in the first verse. The song makes frequent uses of starts and stops and drops in the instrumental, most clearly audible in the measures before verses, or in the rhythm of the guitars in the second verse. And, of course, the short bass solo, which is one of my favorite parts, second to the guitar solo, of course. You know I love a good guitar solo. With the rock genre and the confident lyrics, the song really makes me feel powerful whenever I listen to it, which is certainly helpful going into 2021. A lot of people like to compare Rolling Quartz and Dreamcatcher, and I can totally see why. They're both female-fronted K-rock, in Rolling Quartz's case with the instruments being played by the members themselves. But keep in mind that Dreamcatcher has been steadily incorporating more EDM and ballad elements into their songs, meaning that Rolling Quartz's Blaze will probably be best liked by those who prefer Dreamcatcher's earlier work, such as Chase Me and Good Night. I'd also highly recommend Blaze to those who are fans of K-bands like The Rose and Day 6, and are looking to listen to more songs by female artists. So if you're a fan of K-rock, definitely get acquainted with Rolling Quartz now. I really do think they're going to get huge someday. And just like that, those are our 5 songs of the week, plus our Sore Thumb song. I'm gonna be honest, even before I decided this week's theme, I've been listening to a ton of funky music. That retro sound really was the defining sound of the 2020s pop scene, hasn't it? Not just in Korea with Dynamite and I Can't Stop Me and La-Di-Da, but also over in the West with, well, essentially the entirety of Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia album. Let's be honest, there's not much from 2020 I want to carry into 2021, but this funky 70s to 80s inspired sound really is something I've grown fond of, as my 2.5-hour Apple Music funky playlist can attest. And of course, getting into Rolling Quartz has been super cool too, especially with how responsive they are to fan interaction online, and how attentive they are to making their videos and streams accessible through captions and translation. But, that's enough emotional reflection for today. After all, we still have to spin the wheel of segments. And this week's segment is 1 Year Later. 1 Year Later is the segment where I take a look at an underrated song released exactly 1 year ago, or at least as close as I can get. Today's pick is Waiting for You, the debut release of a band called SGO, standing for Segoli Gopa. The song currently has 23k views on Genie Music, and keep in mind that's 23k views since January 10th, 2020. Honestly, I wish that I had found this song when it first came out. It has such a soothing feeling to it, starting with just an acoustic guitar, before adding electric piano and soft drums in an almost R&B inspired way. Although campfire-style acoustic guitar and an electric piano-heavy slow jam don't sound like genres that would transition well between each other, the vocalist, Ji-hyun Woo, has a soft and airy voice that works perfectly in both, uniting the two seamlessly. No matter where you are in the song, even during the double time sections, it has a calming effect that would have been very helpful during the entirety of 2020, let's be honest. Perfect timing on their part, terrible on mine. The combination of slow jam and soft guitar and Waiting for You reminds me a bit of When You Love Someone by Day 6. Of course, When You Love Someone is a bit more intense in terms of volume and energy, taking some more orchestral and rock inspirations, but I really do think they match up vibes-wise. Essentially, Waiting for You feels like a lullaby version of When You Love Someone, if that makes sense. So if you're a fan of Day 6's softer side, give Waiting for You a try. And with that, we end episode 9 of Prim's Playlist Season 2. If you enjoyed this episode, check out the original songs at bit.ly/PMP_S2E9, all letters capital, all numbers numerals. And if you'd like to support this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really want to go above and beyond, donate to our Patreon page. $3 a month for shoutouts and early playlist access, $5 to request a song for me to review. Links to those can be found at linktree/Prim's Playlist. That's linktr.ee/PRIMMSPLAYLIST. If you want to send me artist info, see my thoughts on K-pop news, or even just say hello, you can find me on Instagram at Prim's Playlist. That's at PRIMMS_PLAYLIST, all lowercase, or on Twitter at PlaylistPrim, P's capital, no space. Thanks for jamming with me today.